I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting their marital problems online, but here I am, still reeling from what happened last weekend. I guess I need to get this off my chest, and maybe some of you have been through something similar. My wife Sarah and I have been married for 8 years. We met in college, dated for 3 years, and had what I thought was a solid relationship. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing major. At least that's what I believed. About 2 years ago, I introduced Sarah to my childhood friend, Mark. We grew up on the same street, went to the same schools, and even though life took us in different directions after college, we always stayed in touch. When he moved to our city for work, I was excited to reconnect. Sarah and Mark hit it off immediately, which I thought was great. The three of us would hang out regularly, dinners, movies, hiking trips, and it felt like we had a good thing going. Looking back, there were signs I should have noticed. The inside jokes they developed. How Sarah would sometimes mention something about Mark's day that I hadn't heard about. The way her phone would always be face down when I entered the room. But I trusted them both completely, so I ignored these red flags. Over the past 6 months, Sarah started working late more often. She joined a book club that met every other Thursday. She became protective of her phone and laptop. Classic signs, right? But I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. Mark and I still met for beers occasionally, and he never gave me any reason to suspect anything. Then came last Saturday. Sarah told me she was meeting her college friend Jessica for shopping and lunch. I had no reason to doubt her. Jessica was in town visiting family, and they had been texting about meeting up. I had plans to catch up on some work, but around noon, my boss called saying he didn't need the project until Monday, so I suddenly had a free afternoon. On a whim, I decided to head to the downtown shopping center to pick up a gift for my mom's upcoming birthday. The shopping center was crowded, as usual for a Saturday. I was coming out of a jewelry store when I spotted them. Sarah and Mark, sitting at a cafe across the way. Not Jessica, Mark. My stomach dropped as I watched them from a distance, partially hidden behind a pillar. They weren't just talking casually. Sarah was leaning forward, her hand on his arm, laughing at something he said. Then, for a brief moment, they kissed. Not a friendly peck, but the kind of kiss that confirmed my worst fears in an instant. My mind went blank. I couldn't move, couldn't think. I just stood there, watching my wife and my oldest friend betray me in broad daylight. They were so engrossed in each other they didn't even notice me standing there, 20 feet away, my world crumbling around me. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen in place. A minute? 5. Time seemed to stretch and compress all at once. Part of me wanted to march over and confront them, flip their table, create a scene worthy of a daytime soap opera. Another part wanted to slink away unnoticed, pretend I'd never seen anything, and continue living in blissful ignorance. Instead, I did something that surprised even me. I took out my phone and snapped a few pictures. Not my proudest moment, but some rational part of my brain knew I'd need evidence. Then I turned and walked away, my legs moving automatically while my mind raced. I drove home in a daze, narrowly avoiding an accident when I ran a yellow light. Once home, I sat in my parked car for nearly an hour, staring at nothing, occasionally glancing at the photos on my phone as if hoping they'd somehow change. Around 4 p.m., Sarah texted, "Shopping with Jess running late. Probably home around 6. Want me to pick up dinner?" The casual normality of it hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't respond. Instead, I went inside and poured myself a whiskey, something I rarely do in the afternoon. I sat at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd had breakfast that morning, where Sarah had kissed me goodbye before heading out to meet her friend. The thought of how easily she'd lied made me physically ill. By the time I heard her key in the lock, I'd moved from shock to anger. She walked in carrying shopping bags, at least that part wasn't a lie, and called out a cheerful hey. "How was shopping with Jessica?" I asked, my voice oddly calm. "Great. We had so much to catch up on," she replied, setting her bags down. "Did you get my text about dinner?" "Funny," I said, sliding my phone across the table toward her, the photo of her kissing Mark clearly displayed. "Jessica looks different than I remember." Her face went through a series of expressions: confusion, shock, fear, and finally resignation. She didn't try to deny it, which was something, I suppose. "How long?" I asked. "Ryan, I can explain." "How long?" She flinched at my tone. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of her coming home to me after being with him. All those late nights at work. The book club meetings. The weekends when I was traveling for business. How many times had they laughed about fooling me? "I want you out," I said, surprising myself again with how steady my voice sounded despite the hurricane inside me. "Tonight. Please, let's talk about this," she pleaded, tears forming. "It's not what you think." "Not what I think." I laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. "I saw you, Sarah. In public. You didn't even have the decency to be discreet." It just happened, she said weakly. Things like this don't just happen for 6 months, I replied. Pack some things and go. I don't care where. Figure it out. As she moved toward our bedroom, looking defeated, my phone buzzed. Mark. A text reading. Hey man, free for beers tonight. The audacity was almost impressive. I wondered if he knew I'd seen them or if this was just another part of their routine. He'd see her during the day, then act normal with me as if nothing had happened. I didn't respond to Mark's text. Not then. Instead, I watched silently as Sarah packed a suitcase, tears streaming down her face. She tried several times to start conversations. I never meant to hurt you. It's complicated. I still love you. But I shut her down each time with stony silence. When she asked if we could talk tomorrow after things had calmed down, I simply said, call a lawyer. After she left, the house felt eerily quiet. I poured another whiskey and finally replied to Mark, sure. Murphy's Pub in 30. He responded immediately with a thumbs-up emoji. I got there first and ordered a beer I had no intention of drinking. When he walked in, smiling like we were just two buddies meeting up, something in me snapped. Not in a violent way. I've never been that guy, but in a clarifying way. The anger was still there, but now tempered with an odd sense of pity. Hey man, he said, sliding onto the bar stool next to me. How's it? I saw you today. I interrupted, watching his face carefully. With Sarah. The color drained from his face so quickly I thought he might pass out. Ryan, I held up my hand. Save it. I've already heard it's complicated from Sarah. I don't need to hear it from you too. Where is she? He asked, looking around as if expecting her to materialize. I don't know. I kicked her out. I took a sip of my beer. You can have her. It's not like that, he protested weakly. Then what is it like, Mark? Explain it to me. Explain how my oldest friend and my wife carrying on behind my back for 6 months isn't like that. He couldn't meet my eyes. 6 months? She told you that. Something in his tone made me pause. Yeah. Why? Has it been longer? Mark looked miserable. Almost a year, he admitted quietly. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. A year. All those memories from the past year, holidays, birthdays, our anniversary trip, now tainted, suspect. I think I loved her from the first time you introduced us, he continued, staring at his hands. I tried to ignore it, I swear. But then one night, when you were out of town, I stood up abruptly. I don't need the details. What are you going to do? He asked, finally looking at me. Divorce her. Find new friends. Start over. I dropped some cash on the bar for my untouched beer. 20 years of friendship, Mark. That's what you threw away. Hope it was worth it. As I walked out, he called after me, but I didn't turn back. That was 3 days ago. Sarah's been staying with her sister. She's called and texted nonstop, begging for a chance to explain, to work things out. Mark's done the same. I've blocked them both. Yesterday, I met with a divorce attorney. Today, I'm looking at apartments. The house we bought together 2 years ago, another memory now poisoned, will have to be sold. I know this isn't the end of the story. There will be painful conversations, division of assets, mutual friends forced to choose sides. I'll have moments of weakness where I consider forgiveness, moments of rage where I want revenge. But right now, I'm just trying to get through each day. If there's anything I've learned from this nightmare, it's that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones most capable of destroying you. But I've also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I'll survive this. I'll rebuild. And someday, this will just be a painful chapter in my life story, not the whole book.